Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, Tamara here. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Bern Mendez, a dating and relationship coach, and we'll be talking about how he spent the past 14 years helping smart, successful women stop choosing emotionally unavailable men and finally create deeply satisfying, sexy, secure relationships. Thanks for joining me, Bern.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. Excited to be here.
Yes, it's a great topic, and I know lots of smart, successful women that actually picked pretty bad people. So it's very relevant, and I know it's definitely true as you've experienced yourself. So
yeah.
What got you into helping women?
Well, it really started by helping humans, and then it translated into helping women. I was at an early age, someone who experienced depression in my life. And after finding a solution that was maybe non-traditional, I got really excited into helping others to figure out ways to solve problems, maybe in a non-traditional way. And from there, it developed into passion. And from that, it developed into a YouTube channel. And it just so happened that the majority of people who listened to the stuff I was sharing were women. And I started lots of conversations, and I started applying the skills that I had for life into the relationship arena. And I found it was really needed, number one, and two, very fulfilling for me. So that it kind of started organically. And then I found more and more ways to be more specific about how to help women experience this result.
Yeah, I can see how that would work. Helping people helps you feel better. So
yeah,
bottom line. Do you want to talk about the non-traditional stuff you figured out, or just leave it more towards what you're doing now?
Well, I mean, we can talk about both. I think that because there's a full circle experience, I guess. Part of it has to do with understanding how, I'm going to go as meta as I can on this, the language that we have to communicate to ourselves dictates the quality of our life. That's one. And the other has to do with a super broad term would be the emotional states that we embody at any moment in time. Because, I mean, there's lots of people, and I'm sure you know, who are really intelligent, but don't get themselves to do those intelligent things in ways that are sustainable because they're maybe really upset all the time or most of the time, or they're very dysregulated. So part of this whole thing came to how do we get ourselves to be in a space emotionally and physiologically where we can tap into more of our resources. And so that's kind of how it started. And then full circle now, at that moment, I was more averse to anything that had to do with therapy. But I found out, lo and behold, that it's incredibly helpful and useful and needed in this day and age. So my focus over the last few years has been really to get myself into a space where I can understand how the brain works and how trauma works so that I can help people, not as a therapist, because I'm not a therapist, but in an informed way where human beings can make decisions and changes that would have taken a lot longer, much more powerfully. I think there's something powerful to be said about when you understand that it's not something flawed inside of you, but there's a pattern that you're repeating, and you can shift the pattern. Then and it's removes shame from the whole thing, but also creates an opportunity to do something really practical. You know, it's like kind of like playing chess. If you don't understand that the chess has rules and that there's certain moves for opening and for mid game and for end game, then you just lose all the time. But when you turn the lights on and then you start understanding the theory of chess and you start making better moves, you understand patterns, then you can start winning. And that's kind of like what I like to offer people, an opportunity to remove the shame from not having the relationship that they want because nobody's taught them how to do it, and give them some practical skills that allow them to experience a new result. And when you experience a new result, I think it's easier to keep the momentum and say, okay, well, now maybe what else is possible?
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you work with, especially the smart, successful women that choosing bad people?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's lots of ways to work with someone in that situation. That I guess the first part is helping them understand why it is that they're making those choices. I think there's a lot of people look badly upon maybe, I don't know, again, I'm not sure if you've had any friend that is a super smart woman, very beautiful by all standards, and she just happens to go for bad boys, to give you a broad term, or for someone who's really unavailable, or someone who is highly avoidant. And I think the first part is helping them understand, first of all, what's happening. I think there's a dynamic inside any type of those connections that is very, it hijacks your nervous system, because it creates a bit of an addiction. When you want something and you can't fully have it, there's a part inside of you that wants it more. And the more you go for it, the more the person typically tends to maybe avoid that situation. It's like a bad, I don't know if you've ever heard like a microphone and speakers interacting with each other, and the louder the microphone, the speakers, the worse the microphone gets, and vice versa. So that's the kind of loop where if you help someone understand what's really taking space without you're doing it wrong, but here's what's really happening, and then help them find out, okay, what is it that you really want long term? And then you have a discrepancy, right? Here's what I'm doing and here's what I want. So sometimes the first step is helping someone understand their blind spots in terms of two things. Number one, what's really happening, because we love to tell ourselves stories. You can hear people who really go deep onto many different subjects, but when it comes to relationships, a chip maybe flares up and you give people 30,000 chances that you wouldn't in business, you wouldn't do that, but you just start coming up with excuses because you want something, you crave something, whether it's emotional connection or sexual connection, or there's neurochemicals taking place that really feel good. You start craving that situation. So the first blind spot is what's happening. The second one is what's happening inside of you, so that through understanding when triggers take place and regulating differently, you can start making new choices that perhaps before were impossible to make. So there's a lot of that going on, but also there's helping someone have new experiences that feel safe and in a way gets a chance to rewire the experience, because if all you've learned, maybe you grew up in a house that was where nobody spoke truth, or maybe you grew up in a home where human beings were very dismissive, and that's the set point you have for love. And then you connect with someone, and I see lots of women doing this. Men do this too, but since I work with women, that's the most vivid example that I have. They connect with someone, and the guy is a very strong reminder of their dad or their mom. And they're not aware of it, but there's something so magical about him. Like, no, there isn't. He reminds you of your dad. And when you get a chance to understand that and fully feel it and start figuring out how you can create deeper connections with other people, then things start shifting for the better.
Yeah. And do you think it's best to find someone like your dad and heal it, or do you avoid people that remind you of the person that's kind of causing the triggers and trauma?
Well, it depends on if that was a really toxic human, then not really. I'd say avoid that human being. But everything's not black and white. I think it's nuanced. I think there's something powerful to be done about healing the best you can without the need to connect with human beings who really push all your buttons. And because people will still, you'll still get that experience, you'll still get triggered, but there's no need to connect with someone who's reminding you of your worthlessness on a daily basis to overcome it. I think life is hard enough to do without it. So I think it's better for people to take a little bit of a step back and choose what it is that they want. I tell all my clients, one of the things that we human beings do a lot is we hope for someone to fall head over heels in love with us. And we're not necessarily kind of even in love with our own lives. So taking a step back and falling in love with our lives, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fully healed. I don't think anyone fully ever gets there. But there's something to be said about being in a space where you can recognize your own stuff, where you can see the truth in other human beings. And when presented with strong evidence, about who somebody is, having the courage and the emotional fortitude to say thanks, but no thanks. There's a beautiful poem. I think Wayne Dyer used to read it. And I won't go the whole thing, but the first one is you fall into a hole. You don't even realize it. Second stage is you fall into a hole and but now you realize that you're falling into the hole. And you get to the end where you go through a different street. You don't have to go through the same street as the hole. So I think that's everybody's life. We make lots of mistakes, and relationships are the space where we get a chance to really see what's happening inside. Because if you really want to put yourself in a situation where all your skills will be necessary, that's an intimate romantic relationship. All your fears, all your insecurities, all your triggers, will flourish, and you get a chance to work on it. So in a healthy relationship, that will happen. That's why I'm saying there's no need to add extra backpacks climbing Everest to ensure you're a you're a good climber.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've experienced both sides, like the bad ones, toxic, and then the good. So
yeah,
it's definitely helpful. And you can have the same kind of arguments, but you actually resolve them and work together and like get better after, instead of just having a toxic loop of yelling at each other constantly and not hearing each other.
Yeah, something powerful about having someone who your life is better because of them, not despite them. And I think a lot of people in relationships that feel very intense, which is something we're craving, but they are not helping. I mean, it's a negative equation. When my clients sometimes will say something like, hey, but he's strong and he's intelligent and look at it. Okay, so that's the positive, right? And I basically, when I hear all the stuff that she's going through as a result of the actions which are not healthy in the relationship, I say, what's +5 minus 10? -5. Okay, well, it's a negative equation. Yeah, this guy has lots of great things, but the things he removes from your life are stronger than the positive ones, at least in my assessment. So it's worth noticing. Negative equations are not good in relationships.
Yeah. And when you say, it sounds like you said earlier, that people just ignore the red flags. Or is there a way to like avoid certain things, or is it individual? Or
I think that there's ways to diminish the risk of falling for red flags. For example, if you take longer to get to know someone, the likelihood that you'll be objective will be greater than if you rush into a relationship really early on. I'm a big proponent of not having an exclusive relationship with someone until you really fully know them. A friendship has really started developing. You understand each other's values. You've had a disagreement and have been able to resolve it in some way. So when you have more data emotionally and logistically, then it doesn't mean that you won't fall for the red flag, but it means that you're more objective. Another thing that helps people to fall less for red flags is radically slowing down the degree of physical connection with someone and sexual connection. Again, the biochemistry, and this is documented by lots of really good scientists, that takes place when people have a deep physical connection or sexual connection. It changes the way you operate, the way you view things, the way you evaluate life. So what happens when you connect with someone who seems really exciting, really fun, really charismatic, tells you the things you want to hear, and then you have sex really early on, and then you start falling for the person, not for the qualities of that human being, but for the neurochemicals in your system that are telling you go for more of this. I think if you slow those things down, then also there's a chance to see the red flags more powerfully. And I think one third thing you can do is, and I ask my clients to do this, keep a journal. When you connect with someone and you go on a date, when it's still fresh, you go back home or in your car, start thinking about this, write a paragraph or two in terms of what you noticed, how you felt, things that went great, things that didn't go great, not to just put the person on the microscope, but for you to recognize more in real time, hey, there was this joke that was not really funny, it was kind of intense, and now that I take the time, I felt disrespected, or I felt sad, or I felt angry, whatever it is. And then when you have that data, then what happens if you choose to have a next date with that person? You can bring it up in a healthy way. Say, hey, the other day when this is what I remember about what happened, and here's how I felt, and here's what I want. Then the person can either be great about it and improve, or can push it back on you, or can try to gaslight you and say that you imagined the whole thing and you have it written down, so you didn't imagine it, So if you do those three things, they sound simple, but they can radically shift the viewpoint of falling for someone with tons of red flags, or maybe not tons, but maybe some red flags that are significant in nature to make sure that a relationship is really painful.
Yeah. And you mentioned also about sometimes women, we find the nice guys are boring.
Well, here's the thing. I'm never a proponent of women or men connecting with someone that they don't feel chemistry for once they get to know them. I am a proponent of not seeking that thrill from the first moment. And we live in a society that through no fault of our own instant gratification society. And if you remember the first, I mean, you're around my age, I think. I'm 49. So I think, I've heard you talking in an episode. I mean, yeah, you're close to my age. And I think one of the things that we've heard and seen is, I mean, think about Cinderella and think about Snow White, think about any type, love at first sight, heart bursts open. You go tell your mom, I met the guy I'm going to marry. Do you know him? No, but I just know it in my heart. That type of experience is really deep down in our psyche. So when you connect with someone and there's no fireworks, a lot of people say, well, it's not my type, or, oh, this is boring, or this is not going to be fun enough, or there's no chemistry. And I'm a proponent of getting a chance to get to know someone for deeper, a little longer, at least 3 dates if there's no red flags, and then make a decision. If you're not feeling stronger about the person, if you're feeling no more chemistry, then choose to not see them. But if you feel a little bit more, then there's like a flame of a candle that can last long versus the firecracker that explodes and doesn't last. That's part of it. Now, there are human beings who are more on the category of boring, and I agree with that. Also, there's people who are not boring. They have a safety mechanism that doesn't resonate with the thrill you're seeking or with the experience you have at, as we talked earlier, at the set point of disruptive, go home. So when you connect with someone like that, if you haven't fully evaluated that, then it's not that the person's boring, is that you're not necessarily getting the rejection you were getting that you're used to, that feels like home. So you're like, well, this is not, I mean, there's no drama here. Like, what's the point here? And obviously this is not something that's logical. No one thinks this guy's not dramatic, so it's boring. Just think that he's boring. So that's why slowing down in the process of dating really matters, not just for not falling for red flags, but also to give people a chance. So that's part of what you can do. Another thing you can do is, since you have nothing to lose, I mean, typically I hear from women who have a really easy time being their full selves with someone they're not super attracted to. But when the guy that they deem really, they put him on a pedestal and they don't share the truth and they almost they really want to be liked by him. So since you already have nothing to lose right now, because you're probably not feeling super triggered or lack of confidence by this man, then be more vulnerable, be slightly more vulnerable, express a bit more of who you are, ask deeper questions, open-ended questions that maybe put more of you on the line. And when there's more vulnerability, maybe something happens that activates a part of that person who is listening to you in ways that you haven't been listened to before, or share something that strikes you as profound and meaningful. So I've had clients who met someone and the first date or 2 dates were like, I don't know about him. And I said, come on, give me one more. And they ended up getting married and have very fulfilling lives. And they shared with me. I mean, I had someone who wrote a message to me the other day who married an amazing guy. They've been together for 3 years. She chose at 49 or 48 to have a child because she was, and they're happy being parents. And the thing she wrote in that email she sent me is like, I keep hearing your voice in my mind because this is a guy I would have never in a million years gone for had we not worked together, because everything about me told me, he's not your type. And then I gave him a chance and another chance and another chance. And they fell in love really deeply. There's something powerful about taking longer to connect with someone and really get to know them with less of that intense fireworks experience at the beginning. And having said that, it's important to have passion for the person that you're with. It's just not A, the most important thing, and B, not the thing that needs to happen as early as we all want it to be.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to point out that there is a send us a text message at the very beginning of the description, and you can use that to send an anonymous question or comment. So I'd really appreciate it. All right. Thanks. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've talked, I mean, obviously I interview people in this kind of stuff. So I've heard that before too, like just really, really wait. And I wasn't so good at waiting before, but now I fully believe that.
That's good.
Yeah. And then speaking of like not waiting, but then when you finally do, or wanting to get to that point, you had mentioned like a script for sexy, honest communication. Like what does that mean that kind of gets you there? Like when you're ready, when you've known each other long enough, or heading towards that?
Yeah. And I would say more than a script, it's a way of being compiled with honest expression that gets you into the type of connection that you want and deepening the connection. Because here's the thing. When two people connect, there's always going to be this idea, especially the more you get to know someone, I have it all figured out. And I think the day that happens is the day the relationship starts dying. So being willing to ask a question that you've never asked before is incredible. I ask my clients, there's a couple of games that are really powerful. One is called The And, THE space AND. The other one is the game by Esther Perel, Where Shall We Begin? And this is something cool because you can get a pack of little cards, and you don't have to play all of them, but you just get a pack of cards and you have a prompt, and the prompt might be 3 or 4 words, but those 3 or 4 words might change your life in terms of connecting with someone. Like maybe the question will be, last time I cried that I didn't want anyone to know that I was crying was, and maybe it's 5 years ago, and maybe it's something you haven't really remembered. Maybe it's something the person doesn't even know about you, but that prompt creates a 30-minute conversation, unscripted, that allows you both to experience each other. So I think that there's something really powerful about asking questions that you normally don't ask that allow the person to reveal more of who they are, and you as a listener become much more in tune with who they are. There's a concept called attunement that has to do with you fully understanding and sensing yourself, and then fine-tuning through that process to the person in front of you. When that happens, it's the feeling of being fully seen and being fully experienced. So having moments, whether you're in a dating process and getting to know someone, where you say, okay, this is the time of the date where we're going to go a little bit off script. And instead of just asking the regular boring questions everybody asks, let's go a little wild and take a pack of cards, or you can just come up with your own questions. That's okay too. And then go a little deeper. Now, that little bit of depth could be the best thing that happened in the entire date. Now, if you're in a relationship with someone long-term, and the idea is I've known this person for a long time and I know all there is to know about them, you'd be so surprised. They actually have a YouTube channel that's powerful. Skin Deep, I think is the name of it. But you can witness conversations between maybe somebody who they split up and they haven't talked in 3 years, and they bring them together face to face, camera shown both faces, and they start asking each other questions. And you can't avoid crying sometimes with the depth of stuff that's being shared. I saw one the other day, and this is not in romantic relationships. There's a dad basically who has ALS, that Lou Gehrig's disease, and talking to his son. And basically the prompt was a cool prompt from the son. Basically said, hey, if I lost my memory and I asked you to share with me something about the connection that we have, what is the first thing you would share with me? Again, pretty insightful question. Powerful stuff came out. It was really chilling. So there's a poet, it's my favorite poet, called David White, has a concept called beautiful questions. A beautiful question is a question that allows you to full stop evaluate life in a very different perspective. So for me, this concept of connecting with somebody more deeply is create your own script by having something that is not scripted, something that allows genuine communication where two human beings can feel each other, who can sense things that they haven't sensed in each other. Life is super short, and I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a few things that we take with us, very few, but one of them is what we gave, what we received. And I think those moments, which seem so mundane, sometimes are the biggest thing. Like the little details sometimes are everything in a connection or in a relationship with someone. So that's kind of like the concept behind this, to be able to create your own script by having conversation that is different and nuanced and attuned and courageous. It takes a lot of courage to ask a question, because it's the whole thing of vulnerability, right? If you're going to ask a question that's challenging in a good way, then be prepared to share your own answer about the whole thing, and be prepared for somebody to ask you a question you don't expect. But there's something so real and so alive about having a conversation that way, that gets you to know someone more deeply, but also gets you to feel more alive as you're connecting with someone. And I think that's a good combination.
Yeah, I was just talking about this with my partner. I was saying how I need to have better questions, or just something more to talk about, because I feel like it's too much small talking. He's like, oh, we can have silence too. But I'm with you. I want to have good questions.
So here's something cool for anyone who's in a situation like yours, whether you're in a partner or getting to know someone. There's a book. It's an old book, and it's not the end all be all, but it gives you I'm a big proponent of frameworks, because when you understand a framework, then you can change things and mix them and match them on your own. There's a book called 7 Levels of Intimacy. And the book is cool because it gives you a framework. If you're having a conversation with someone and you're not feeling the depth, like I'm imagining that's kind of like there's a part of you that felt, I want more. I want to feel his heart. I want him to know me better. And here we are talking about the weather. Nothing wrong with that, but I want more. Then you start with cliches, right? How are you? I'm having a great day, or something that's really mundane. Then you go up into, I think the next level would be something along the lines of facts. Hey, what did you do today? And then you get to opinions, which is deeper than facts. And then you get to dreams, and then you get to fears, and then you get to needs. There's so many cool things as you elevate. So when you understand, like, if you ask the question, what level are we playing at right now? What of these 7 levels are we playing at? Okay, we're level 0 right now. Okay, cool. Let me take you up a notch. And then you ask a question that has to do with the next level. And then you start escalating from there in a good way. And then it's not hard to go from, this is boring, or I've had too many of this, to, wow, this is a conversation I will not soon forget. So maybe that's a cool thing for anyone who's listening. I mean, get something like that. Get one of these games. It's life-changing, It's just a chance to, it's fun, it's playful. And it gets, because it's a game, hey, I didn't ask you a tough question. The game did. Now, if you have a partner, some of those questions are sexual in nature as well, which is kind of cool. You can mix and match. And another level, because most people don't really talk about sex, or they talk about sex, having sex, which is maybe the worst time to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I was going to say one other thing about asking questions. Sometimes or people are afraid to ask a question they don't want the answer to, or they think it might be negative, so they're afraid to ask certain. But I mean, I like, like you said, the card it's a game, so it's like, like you said, the game asks you, not me.
Yeah.
But people can hesitate to ask. At least I've done that in the past, where I'm like, just in case it's not the answer I want, I'm not going to ask you. So.
Yeah, but then there's something cool, because maybe you hear an answer that's deeper and better than what you imagine, and then what then? Then you got a chance to hear something that I think we have sometimes ideas about other people that create unnecessary fear. Because at the end of the day, even if it's challenging, and I'm not saying it's easy or that I do it all the time, but I'd rather find out what somebody really thinks and feels than go down an imaginary tangent, because then we can do something about it. It doesn't mean it's set forever. It just means that, hey, at least we're starting from a truthful space.
Yeah. So like you said earlier, the fairy tale delusional, space.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, this seems like a good time. Do you want to talk about how people can work with you, like how they can reach you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the easiest way to reach me would be my website, bernmendez.com. That's BERNMENDZ.com. I have a quiz there. If somebody's single and wants to find out a bit more what their biggest attraction blind spot is, you can take it. It's free. You can find me on YouTube, Bern Mendez. Find me. I have like hundreds of free videos there that you can learn from. So those would be probably the two best spaces: bernmendez.com and YouTube.
Okay, awesome. And then, are there any final thoughts or just takeaways you want people to?
Yes, biggest. I mean, I'll say. I mean, I'll go in three takeaways. Number one, if you're a single woman and you're not experiencing the love that you want, it's easy to think that it's never going to change. I'm telling you, as a result of not just imagining this stuff, but having worked with hundreds of women who actually get what they want, that it is possible. It is not easy, and anyone who sells you the idea it's easy, please run away, because they're BSing you, but it is possible. Two, that we have more potential in terms of what's possible in our relationship today than at any other point in human history. Yet, because what we want is so ambitious, if we don't get the skills for it, it's a high just imagination that we're going to get it. And the third thing I'll say is that there are multiple factors if you're a woman who's single, especially in midlife, especially if you have a decent income, that make it more challenging for you. And I don't want to go into all of them. I mean, I'm about to release a paper that, there's like maybe 30 points. Not to make it sad, just it's the way it is. Because I'm a proponent of, if things are challenging, the way to get what you want isn't to A, imagine it is not happening, or B, to just change. You can't change the number of available conscious men out there, but you can stand out more. you can figure out a way to express yourself more powerfully, to put yourself in the right rooms where you can meet those people. So with some strategy and some emotional regulation, you can get a lot more than what you imagined before.
All right. Awesome. Yes. Thank you very much. And for the listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and share it as well. And also follow the show, of course. All right. Thank you so much, Bern.
Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.